For a moment, forget everything you know about ancient Rome. Forget the emperors. Forget the great battles. Forget the roaring crowds inside the Colosseum. Tonight, we are not following a famous general. We are not standing beside a victorious emperor. Instead, we will simply walk, one quiet step at a time. It is the spring of **117 AD*. The Roman Empire has reached its greatest extent. More than 60 million people live beneath its rule. Roads stretch farther than most travelers could ever imagine. Ships cross distant seas carrying grain, marble, spices, glass, silk, and stories from every corner of the known world. And at the center of it all stands a single city, Rome, the largest city on Earth, home to nearly 1 million people. A place so immense that many visitors spend their entire lives trying to understand it. Yet today, the city is still asleep. The eastern horizon glows with only the faintest trace of light. Stars continue to shimmer above the silent countryside. A cool breeze drifts gently across the open fields, carrying the earthy scent of damp soil, wild rosemary, and fresh morning dew. Ahead of you, the silhouette of Rome slowly begins to emerge. At first, it is little more than a dark line against the brightening sky. Then, as your eyes adjust, details begin to appear. Massive walls, watchtowers, tall gates, temple rooftops rising above the skyline. Thin streams of smoke drifting upward from hearths already lit before dawn. You pause for a moment, not because you are tired, but because the city before you feels almost impossible. No painting, no story, no map could truly prepare someone for their first glimpse of Rome. The road beneath your feet is smooth. Large basalt stones, fitted together with astonishing precision, stretch toward the city gate. Countless travelers have walked this same road. Merchants from distant provinces, soldiers returning from campaigns, scholars searching for knowledge, pilgrims, farmers, messengers, families beginning new lives. Their footsteps have long disappeared. Yet somehow, the road still remembers them. As you continue forward, the sounds of the countryside slowly begin to change. A rooster calls from a distant farmhouse. Somewhere in the olive groves, birds greet the approaching sunrise with soft melodies. The leaves of tall cypress trees whisper quietly in the morning breeze. Everything feels calm, measured, patient. Then, another sound reaches you. Faint at first, almost too distant to notice. The rhythmic strike of iron against stone. A gate being prepared. A wagon rolling somewhere inside the walls. The city is waking. Not suddenly, but gradually, like a giant taking its first slow breath. You continue walking. With every step, Rome grows larger. The walls now tower high above the surrounding fields. Built from enormous blocks of stone, they seem almost part of the landscape itself. Time has weathered their surface, but not their strength. Near the gate, several torches still burn. Their flames flicker gently in the cool air, soon to surrender their light to the rising sun. Two guards stand watch beneath the great archway. Their bronze helmets catch the first hints of dawn. Their spears remain perfectly still. One watches the road stretching into the countryside. The other studies the growing line of travelers slowly approaching the city. There is no shouting, no panic, only quiet routine. A farmer waits patiently beside a wooden cart loaded with baskets of vegetables. Behind him, a merchant gently calms two mules carrying amphoras sealed with wax. A young mother adjusts the wool blanket wrapped around her sleeping child. Nearby, an elderly traveler leans upon a walking staff, gazing toward the city with tired but hopeful eyes. Everyone waits, because everyone understands something about Rome. The city decides its own pace. No one rushes Rome. The eastern sky grows brighter. Soft shades of blue melt into pale gold. The first ray of sunlight reaches the highest tower. Then another. Slowly, the light begins to descend across the ancient walls. Stone once hidden in darkness now glows with warm amber tones. Birds rise from the battlements in a sudden flutter, circling high above the gate before disappearing toward the river. For a brief moment, the entire city seems to awaken together. Not with noise, but with light. A horn sounds softly from within the walls. The great wooden gates begin to move. Heavy hinges groan with a deep, familiar voice. The opening widens little by little. Cool air flows outward from the streets beyond. It carries with it scents unlike anything you have experienced before. Fresh bread, wood smoke, olive oil, damp stone, leather, flowing water. A city has its own fragrance. And this is the scent of Rome. You take one final breath before crossing the threshold. Beyond these gates lies the greatest city of the ancient world. A place filled with quiet mornings, hidden courtyards, crowded forums, towering temples, forgotten workshops, and ordinary people whose lives quietly shaped history. Your journey is about to begin. Take one more step, and welcome to ancient Rome. The first thing you notice is N. It is the Sioux. Long before Rome appears in full, you hear it breathen. Wooden wagon wheels groan beneath impossible weight. Iron tires SCR. Hundreds of hooves strike the earth with countless overlapping rhythms, some fast, some slow, merging into one endless heartbeat. Voices D. Latin, Greek, Asia, Egypt. Languages you cannot identify. Birdsong slowly disappears beneath the noise of sieve. You continue walking. The road widens. Its surface changes from dusty earth into carefully fitted basalt stones, each one polished smooth by generations of travelers. The engineering is astonishing. Rainwater flows neatly into shallow side channels. The road remains dry despite the previous night's rain. Even without understanding construction, you can feel the confidence beneath every step. This road was built to last centuries, perhaps longer. Ahead of you, the crowd thickens. Farmers carrying baskets overflowing with onions, figs, and garlic. Goat herds guiding nervous animals toward the city markets. Merchants leading camels whose saddlebags are packed with expensive cloth from the east. A pair of heavily guarded wagons transport marble columns wrapped in thick wool blankets. Nothing moves quickly. Everything moves steady. Rome is patient. Rome expects everyone eventually. You become another face among hundreds. Nobody studies you closely. Travelers constantly arrive. Some seek fortune. Others seek justice. Many seek food. A few hope to disappear into the largest city the world has ever known. You understand why. Already, before entering the gates, Rome feels less like a city, and more like an entire world gathered into one place. The air changes again. Instead of wild grass and damp earth, you smell civilization. Fresh bread, wood smoke, horse manure, olive oil, hot iron, leather, fish packed in salt, human sweat, flower petals scattered before household shrines. Each smell rises and fades before another replaces it. None exists alone. Together they create something impossible to describe. The scent of nearly 1 million lives existing together. Ahead, enormous stone walls finally emerge through the morning haze. Not impossibly tall. Not frightening because of their height. Frightening because of their certainty. These walls do not ask whether they will endure. They already know. Massive gates interrupt the stone barrier, framed by carefully carved arches. Roman soldiers stand watch beneath them. Their armor catches the early sunlight. Bronze fittings flash briefly with every movement. Each man appears relaxed. No shouting, no dramatic displays. Only quiet observation. Discipline has become so ordinary that it no longer needs to prove itself. You slow your pace as the line approaches. Nearby, a merchant quietly explains something to his young son. Always answer directly. The boy nods nervously. An old woman adjusts the basket balanced upon her head. A mule suddenly refuses to continue. Its owner sighs instead of becoming angry. Perhaps stubborn animals are simply another part of Roman life. The line moves. Slowly, steadily. Every traveler reaches the soldiers. Most are asked only a few simple questions. Where have you come from? What are you carrying? Where are you staying? Some produce wax tablets containing official business. Others display permits sealed with wax impressions. Most simply answer honestly. Rome depends upon information. Knowing who enters matters almost as much as controlling who enters. Your turn arrives. One soldier studies you briefly. His eyes linger on your clothing. Your boots. Your empty hands. Not suspicious. Merely observant. He asks a short question in Latin. You recognize only fragments. Fortunately, another nearby official repeats it more slowly. Purpose. You hesitate only a heartbeat. Travel. The official nods. Travelers are common. He gestures toward the road beyond. No dramatic inspection. No celebration. No ceremony. One moment you stand outside Rome. The next, you are inside. History quietly closes behind you. The gateway itself is surprisingly cool. Massive stone blocks trap the night's remaining chill. Your footsteps echo beneath the vaulted ceiling. The sounds of the city bounce from every surface. As you emerge into daylight again, everything changes. The streets stretch farther than your eyes comfortably follow. Stone buildings rise 3, 4, sometimes 5 stories high. Balconies lean above narrow streets. Laundry flutters gently between windows. Children laugh somewhere overhead. A woman empties yesterday's wash water into the gutter below. Thankfully, she shouts a warning first. Several pedestrians instinctively step aside. Nobody seems surprised. Clearly, this happens every day. The streets themselves are alive. Not crowded. Flowing. Like rivers. One current carries laborers pushing handcarts. Another carries elegantly dressed citizens beneath light-colored cloaks. Priests move quietly toward nearby temples. Slaves hurry with baskets balanced upon their shoulders. Dogs weave effortlessly through countless legs. Everyone appears to know exactly where they belong. Only you pause. You cannot help it. Every direction offers another impossible detail. Shops stand completely open to the street. There are no glass windows, only wide entrances displaying merchandise directly toward passing customers. A baker removes fresh loaves using a wooden paddle. Steam rolls into the street. The smell reaches you instantly. Warm wheat, argi, honey. Another shop displays bronze lamps, each polished until it reflects tiny fragments of sunlight. Nearby, colorful fabrics hang from wooden beams. Deep crimson, ocean blue, golden saffron, rich purple so expensive that only the wealthiest citizens could regularly afford it. The merchant gently brushes invisible dust from each fold. Presentation matters. A customer pauses, touches the cloth. Negotiation begins immediately. Across the street, a barber carefully shaves an older man's beard. No privacy, no mirrors facing away. Everything happens openly. Conversation becomes entertainment for everyone nearby. Laughter erupts. Even strangers smile. Further ahead, a physician arranges small ceramic jars upon a shelf. Herbs, resins, powders, medicines gathered from every corner of the empire. Some surely work. Others perhaps rely more upon hope than science. Yet patients continue arriving. Hope itself remains valuable. You continue walking. Every few steps reveal another profession. Potters, carpenters, jewelers, scribes, cobblers, wine sellers, olive merchants, money changers. Each occupies only a narrow section of the street, yet together they create an endless marketplace stretching beyond sight. The sounds never stop. Hammer strikes, animal calls, conversations, footsteps, water splashing from fountains, metal scraping stone, children chasing one another, a distant trumpet announcing official business. Nothing dominates. Everything blends, like waves upon an endless shore. You notice something else. Color. Many people imagine Rome as white marble. It is not. Walls are painted. Doors glow red. Columns carry faded blues and greens. Temple decorations shimmer with gold leaf. Statues display traces of painted eyes, lips, and hair. Even ordinary homes contain color. The city refuses to remain silent. Or pale. Above you, sunlight reflects from countless terracotta rooftops. The warmth begins building quickly. Already merchants seek shade beneath fabric awnings stretched across storefronts. Water sellers call out to thirsty pedestrians. One offers diluted wine. Another cools spring water carried in clay jars wrapped with damp cloth. You stop beside a public fountain. Crystal clear water pours continuously from a carved stone lion's mouth. Citizens approach confidently. No payment, no permission. Fresh water belongs to everyone. You cup your hands. The water feels surprisingly cold. Aqueducts have carried it from distant hills many miles away. Invisible engineering supports visible civilization. Without these aqueducts, Rome could never exist at this scale. You drink slowly. Nearby, an elderly man quietly washes dust from his sandals. A little girl carefully fills a small ceramic pitcher. Two soldiers refill leather flasks before returning to duty. The fountain never rests. Neither does the city. As you continue deeper into Rome, the streets gradually widen. Traffic becomes heavier. The buildings grander. Public monuments begin appearing between ordinary neighborhoods. Every structure seems determined to outlive those who built it. Massive stone blocks fitted together with astonishing precision. Columns rising effortlessly toward the sky. Carvings so detailed that individual leaves seem ready to flutter in the wind. You realize something unexpected. Rome does not merely display power. It performs permanence. Everything around you quietly whispers the same message. We were here before you. We will remain after you. For a brief moment, you wonder how many travelers have stood exactly where you stand. A merchant from Britannia, a scholar from Athens, an ambassador from Egypt, a frightened recruit arriving for military service, a runaway slave seeking anonymity, a poet chasing inspiration, an orphan chasing hope. The stones beneath your feet remember them all, though they speak none of their names. The city continues pulling you forward. One street opens into another. Every turn reveals another layer, another story, another life unfolding beside yours. And somewhere beyond these endless streets, the heart of Rome waits, not rushing, simply waiting. For a few quiet moments, you simply walk, not because you know where you are going, but because Rome seems to expect movement. Standing still feels almost unnatural here. The streets carry everyone forward like the steady current of a river. You allow yourself to become part of that current. Your footsteps echo softly across smooth volcanic stone, polished by countless generations before yours. Every few meters, another narrow alley opens between the buildings. Some disappear into darkness. Others reveal tiny courtyards overflowing with potted herbs and climbing vines. Some carry the irresistible smell of fresh bread. Others smell of wet stone, smoke, and old timber. No two streets feel alike. Yet together, they form something enormous. A living maze. Unlike modern cities, there are no signs guiding travelers. No numbered streets. No maps hanging upon walls. People navigate through memory, through habit, through landmarks everyone already knows. The temple, the market, the baths, the forum, the circus. The names alone are enough. You realize that Rome is not organized around roads. It is organized around people. The streets bend naturally around hills that existed long before the city. Rather than forcing nature into perfect order, Roman engineers learned to negotiate with it. Some roads climb steeply. Others descend into cool valleys hidden between crowded neighborhoods. As you continue, the sunlight changes. Tall apartment buildings cast long shadows across the paving stones. The temperature drops noticeably. The shade brings relief. Yet it also changes the atmosphere. Here the sounds become softer, closer. A woman sings while grinding grain inside an unseen room. A baby begins crying somewhere above. Someone laughs from behind a wooden shutter. The city has thousands of private lives unfolding just beyond your sight. You notice the buildings more carefully now. Many rise 4 or even 5 stories high. These are the insulae, apartment houses. To someone arriving from a rural village, they must seem impossibly tall. Their lower floors are built from stone. The upper stories combine brick and timber. Wooden balconies lean outward over the streets. Some appear perfectly secure. Others seem slightly uneven, as though gravity and time are quietly negotiating. Laundry hangs overhead. White linen, dyed tunics, children's clothing no larger than your hand. They sway gently in the warm breeze, creating moving patterns of sunlight across the street below. Life exists above you as much as around you. An elderly woman waters herbs growing in clay pots balanced along her balcony. She notices someone below. They exchange greetings. The conversation lasts only seconds. Then life continues. You begin to understand something. Rome feels crowded, yet it never feels anonymous. Neighbors know one another. Shopkeepers recognize familiar faces. Children dart confidently between adults because these streets are their home. The city is enormous, but every neighborhood remains surprisingly personal. You pass a doorway standing completely open. Inside, a family eats together around a simple wooden table. Bread, olives, cheese, perhaps lentils. No one hides from the street. Doors remain open because fresh air matters. Because neighbors frequently visit. Because business and family often exist under the same roof. Privacy means something different here. The streets themselves belong to everyone. Suddenly, the steady rhythm of footsteps breaks. Ahead, several children race around a corner laughing. One carries a small wooden hoop. Another guides it using a curved stick. The game seems wonderfully simple. Roll the hoop. Keep it upright. Run faster than your friends. Their sandals slap against the stones. One nearly collides with a merchant. The merchant pretends to be angry. The children burst into even louder laughter before disappearing around another corner. Their joy lingers behind them. You smile without realizing it. Some things never change. Children have always invented happiness from almost nothing. A little farther ahead, a dog sleeps peacefully beneath the shade of a market cart. No one disturbs him. The cart owner steps carefully around the animal. A passing soldier does the same. The dog opens one eye briefly, then returns to sleep. Even in Rome, there is room for ordinary kindness. The street gradually widens once again. Traffic becomes heavier. Oxen pull wagons loaded with enormous clay amphorae. Their wheels leave faint scratches upon the ancient stones. Drivers call softly to the animals rather than shouting. The oxen already know the route. They have likely walked it hundreds of times. Nearby, several donkeys carry baskets overflowing with grapes. Harvest season has begun in parts of Italy. Purple fruit catches the sunlight like polished jewels. The scent is faint, sweet, fresh. One grape tumbles from a basket onto the road. Before you can react, a nearby child picks it up. The merchant notices. Instead of scolding him, he smiles. The child bows gratefully before disappearing into the crowd. Small moments reveal more than monuments ever could. You continue deeper into the neighborhood. The sounds begin changing again. Not louder, more layered. Metal striking metal. A hammer. Then another. Then another. You follow the rhythm until you reach a blacksmith's workshop. The building has no front wall. Everything remains open to the street. Inside, two apprentices pump enormous leather bellows. The fire glows brilliant orange. Every burst of air transforms the coals into miniature suns. The blacksmith himself stands broad-shouldered beside the anvil. Sweat covers his arms despite the morning hour. His hammer rises, falls, rises again. Each strike showers tiny sparks into the air. He shapes glowing iron with astonishing confidence. No wasted movement. No hesitation. The apprentices already know exactly when to rotate the metal, when to cool it, when to return it to the fire. Years of practice have transformed labor into choreography. Several customers wait patiently nearby. One needs horseshoes. Another requests new hinges. A soldier quietly examines a repaired helmet. Rome depends upon countless craftsmen like this. Their names rarely appear in history. Yet without them, history itself could not happen. You move on. Across the street, another workshop smells completely different. Fresh leather, oil, wax. A sandal maker sits cross-legged beneath the doorway. Around him lie stacks of carefully cut soles. Straps, wooden forms shaped like human feet. He studies each customer individually. No two feet are identical. Every sandal is adjusted by hand. One wealthy customer requests dyed leather. Another simply needs worn straps replaced. Nothing is wasted. Repair often matters more than replacement. Farther along, the smell changes once again. Warm beeswax, papyrus, ink. You have found a scribe. His shop is astonishingly quiet. Compared with the surrounding streets, it almost feels sacred. Wax tablets line wooden shelves. Scrolls rest inside carefully labeled compartments. A young student slowly copies text beneath his teacher's watchful eye. Every letter demands precision. Mistakes are carefully scraped away before the wax hardens. Literacy remains valuable. Words possess weight. The teacher notices your curiosity. He nods politely. No words are exchanged. None are necessary. Knowledge speaks quietly. Outside once more, the city grows brighter. The streets emerge from shadow into full sunlight. Ahead stands a small shrine built directly into the corner of a building. Its marble surface glows softly. Fresh flowers rest beneath tiny painted statues. Someone has recently burned incense. Thin ribbons of fragrant smoke still drift upward. A woman pauses briefly. She touches the shrine, whispers a silent prayer, then continues toward the marketplace without slowing. Religion exists everywhere, not hidden behind temple walls, not reserved for festivals. It accompanies ordinary life. Every journey, every business, every meal. The gods travel alongside the people. As you continue walking, something catches your attention above the rooftops. A line, perfectly straight, far above the city. At first you mistake it for distant hills. Then you understand. An aqueduct. Its endless arches march across the landscape with mathematical confidence. From this distance, they almost resemble a bridge leading nowhere. Yet every citizen knows exactly where it leads. Toward life, toward clean water, toward Rome itself. Invisible rivers flow above the earth before disappearing beneath the streets. Engineering has become so reliable that most people no longer even notice it. The greatest achievements often become ordinary. You pause beside a shaded wall. For the first time since entering the city, you allow yourself a slow breath. Your senses feel almost overwhelmed. There is simply too much to absorb. Too many faces, too many sounds, too many stories unfolding all at once. And yet, instead of exhaustion, you feel curiosity. Every doorway invites another question. Every stranger carries another life. Every street promises another discovery. Rome has not shown you its greatest monuments. Not yet. Instead, it has introduced itself through ordinary people. The baker, the blacksmith, the children, the merchant, the old woman watering herbs, the family sharing bread. You begin to understand why this city became the heart of an empire. Its strength was never built from marble alone. It was built from millions of ordinary mornings, millions of ordinary footsteps, millions of ordinary lives quietly woven together. You continue forward. The streets gently widen once more. Somewhere ahead, the center of Rome draws closer, not with fanfare, but with quiet certainty. The streets begin to change long before you ever see the Forum. It happens so gradually that you almost miss it. The narrow lanes slowly become wider. The buildings begin to stand farther apart. The constant smell of baking bread and wood smoke gives way to fresh-cut marble, warm limestone, and polished bronze warming beneath the afternoon sun. The crowds change as well. The laborers are still here. The merchants continue calling to customers. Children still chase one another through the streets. But now another rhythm joins them. Men wearing brilliant white togas. Government officials carrying bundles of wax tablets. Messengers moving with surprising urgency. Soldiers whose polished armor reflects the bright Mediterranean light. The closer you come to the center of Rome, the more every person seems to carry a purpose. You continue walking. Your sandals strike the stone with a slow, steady rhythm. Around you, conversations rise and fall like waves. One group debates grain prices arriving from Egypt. Another argues over the latest legal decision announced that morning. Two elderly men discuss politics with the calm confidence of people who have spent decades doing exactly that. Nothing here feels rushed, yet everything feels important. A cart loaded with marble blocks creaks slowly past. Each stone bears small marks left by quarry workers hundreds of miles away. Some came from northern Italy. Others crossed the Mediterranean by ship. Still others traveled from distant Greece. Every monument inside Rome is the result of journeys invisible to those who admire them. The city consumes the resources of an empire. As you move forward, sunlight suddenly floods the street. The buildings no longer press closely together. Space opens around you. Ahead stands a broad public square, unlike anything you have ever seen. Columns, dozens of them, perhaps hundreds. They rise toward the brilliant blue sky with impossible elegance. Some are smooth, white marble. Others shimmer with faint shades of yellow, pink, or gray. Every column casts a sharp shadow across the pavement below. The air itself feels different here. Open, expansive. You have arrived at the edge of the Roman Forum. For a moment, you simply stop. Not because anyone tells you to, but because your mind needs time to understand what your eyes are seeing. This is not merely a marketplace. It is not only a government district. It is not simply a religious center. It is all of those things at once. The Forum is the beating heart of Rome. Every road eventually leads here. Every important decision echoes from this place. Every citizen, whether rich or poor, eventually walks these stones. The square stretches before you in every direction. Its surface shines beneath countless footsteps. Generations have worn the paving stones smooth. Millions of sandals have crossed this ground. Millions of voices have filled this air. The Forum remembers all of them. A gentle breeze drifts across the open space. It carries the scent of incense burning inside nearby temples. Mixed with it comes warm dust, fresh olive oil, wax from official documents, the faint perfume worn by wealthy citizens. Everything blends into a fragrance unlike anywhere else in the empire. You begin walking once more, slowly, almost carefully, as though afraid to disturb history itself. To your left rises an enormous basilica. Despite the name, it is not a church. Christianity has not yet transformed these buildings. Here, a basilica serves as a place for business. Lawyers, merchants, bankers, judges. Inside, countless legal disputes unfold beneath towering roofs supported by endless rows of columns. The entrance remains open. You glimpse citizens standing before magistrates. A merchant presents written contracts. Another man argues over ownership of farmland. Nearby, a scribe scratches careful lines onto a wax tablet. Justice in Rome is rarely silent. Across the square, another building catches your attention. Its steps are crowded with citizens waiting patiently. Some carry petitions. Others seek official permission for trade. Several simply hope to speak with someone holding authority. Government here is surprisingly visible. Not hidden behind walls. Not separated from ordinary life. Power stands in the open. Yet even power must wait its turn. A flock of pigeons suddenly rises into the sky. Their wings create a soft rolling sound above the crowd. For a brief moment, every conversation beneath them continues uninterrupted. No one looks upward. Even beauty has become ordinary here. You notice something else. The statues. They stand everywhere. Victorious generals, former emperors, statesmen, heroes whose names every Roman child already knows. Many are larger than life. Bronze eyes gaze toward eternity. Marble robes appear to ripple despite being carved from solid stone. Some statues already show signs of weathering. Rain, wind, time. Even monuments slowly surrender to nature. Yet their presence remains overwhelming. Every statue quietly reminds the living that greatness can outlast a lifetime. You continue deeper into the Forum. The sound of footsteps changes again. The paving stones here are smoother than anywhere else you have walked. Countless generations have polished them until they almost reflect the sunlight. You wonder how many famous people once stood exactly where you now stand. Perhaps a young senator preparing his first speech. Perhaps a victorious general returning from distant campaigns. Perhaps an emperor walking without ceremony among his people. The stones do not reveal their secrets. They simply endure. Ahead, a public speaker has gathered a small crowd. He stands upon a raised platform. His voice rises clearly above the surrounding noise. You cannot understand every word, but you recognize the rhythm, the pauses, the gestures, the confidence. Public speaking here is more than communication. It is performance. Citizens listen closely. Some nod. Others quietly disagree. One man folds his arms. Another smiles. No one interrupts. Debate belongs to Rome almost as much as marble. Nearby, several philosophers continue their own conversation beneath a shaded portico. Their robes are simple. Their voices calm. One draws diagrams into the dust using nothing more than a wooden stick. Students watch carefully. Knowledge passes from one generation to the next. Not inside classrooms, but beneath open skies. As the afternoon sun climbs higher, the marble begins reflecting brilliant light in every direction. The forum almost glows, bright enough that some citizens shield their eyes with the edges of their togas. The heat settles gently upon the square. Yet no one leaves. Life continues. Business continues. History continues. You realize that Rome never truly pauses. Not because people refuse to rest, but because someone is always beginning their day while another finishes theirs. The city breathes through countless lives at once. And standing here, you are breathing with it. The forum slowly fades behind you. Not because it disappears, but because another presence begins to command your attention. It is quieter, older, more solemn. The conversations around you become softer, almost instinctively, as though every citizen understands that loud voices do not belong here. Ahead, the first temple rises above the surrounding streets. Its marble steps seem to float beneath the afternoon light. Each one has been worn smooth by thousands of careful footsteps. You begin climbing. Slowly, the stone beneath your sandals feels warm from hours of sunlight. A gentle breeze brushes against your face, carrying with it the unmistakable scent of burning incense. It is sweet, earthy, almost comforting. Unlike the smoke from cooking fires or blacksmith forges, this smoke rises with purpose. Every curl drifting into the sky carries a prayer. Every flame represents a hope. You reach the top of the steps. Before you stands a forest of marble columns. They are taller than any tree growing naturally in this part of Italy. Each column has been carved with astonishing precision. Running your eyes upward, you notice how perfectly straight they appear. Yet they are not. Roman architects understand something your eyes do not. Every column swells ever so slightly near its center. Barely noticeable. This subtle curve corrects an optical illusion, making the columns appear perfectly straight from below. Even beauty here is carefully engineered. The temple doors stand open. Inside, cool shadows replace the brilliant afternoon sun. Your eyes need several moments to adjust. The temperature drops immediately. The thick marble walls protect the interior from the summer heat. It feels peaceful, almost timeless. At the far end of the chamber stands the statue of a god. Towering, silent, its painted eyes seem to watch every visitor without judgment. Gold leaf catches the light of dozens of oil lamps burning nearby. The flames flicker gently, causing reflections to dance across polished bronze and marble. Nothing moves quickly here. Everything encourages patience. A woman approaches the altar, carrying a small woven basket. Inside rests fresh bread, a handful of figs, several sprigs of rosemary. Simple offerings, nothing extravagant. She kneels, whispers words too quiet to hear, then carefully places her gifts upon the stone before rising once again. No priest interrupts her. No crowd gathers. Faith here is deeply personal. Across the room, an elderly man lights a small clay lamp. His hands tremble slightly with age. The flame catches after only a moment. He closes his eyes. Perhaps he prays for good health. Perhaps for his family. Perhaps he simply gives thanks for another day beneath the Roman sun. Only the gods know. You continue walking through the temple. Your footsteps echo softly across the marble floor. Every sound feels larger than it should. Even breathing seems louder inside these sacred walls. The architecture encourages silence. It reminds every visitor that some places exist not for conversation, but for reflection. Outside, once again, the sunlight almost blinds you. The contrast is startling. The city has continued without pause while you stood inside. Merchants still negotiate. Children still laugh. Soldiers still patrol. Life flows endlessly around the sacred spaces. Religion does not stand apart from daily life. It exists within it. The Romans rarely separate the spiritual from the ordinary. Before beginning a journey, they pray. Before signing an important agreement, they pray. Before planting crops, before sailing across the sea, before marching into battle, they seek the favor of the gods. The divine is woven into every ordinary decision. You continue toward another temple nearby. This one differs from the last. Its columns are darker, its stone older. Small repairs reveal centuries of careful maintenance. Nothing is abandoned. Everything worthy is preserved. The steps are crowded, not with tourists. There is no such thing. Every visitor belongs here. A soldier removes his helmet before entering. A wealthy senator quietly steps aside so an elderly woman may pass first. A mother gently reminds her young son to lower his voice. Respect requires no written rules. Everyone simply understands. You pause near one of the great columns. Its surface bears tiny imperfections. Small chips, hairline cracks, marks left by countless seasons of wind and rain. Perfection has slowly become character. The temple does not hide its age. It wears it proudly. Nearby, two stone masons carefully inspect part of the foundation. One traces his fingers along a narrow fracture. The other nods thoughtfully. Maintenance never ends. Even the greatest buildings require constant care. Rome appears eternal, but eternity demands work. A flock of swallows circles high above the temple roof. Their tiny shadows glide across the marble courtyard. For a brief moment, the birds become the only movement in an otherwise peaceful scene. Then a bell rings softly from somewhere deeper within the sanctuary. Not loud, not commanding, simply enough to mark another small ritual unfolding inside. The sound disappears almost as quickly as it arrived. You notice the colors surrounding you. Many centuries from now, people will imagine these temples as brilliant white. But today, they are alive with paint. Deep reds decorate the roof beams. Blue patterns run along carved borders. Golden details shimmer beneath the sunlight. Statues wear painted robes. Stone lions guard stairways with brightly colored eyes. Nothing appears unfinished. The gods deserve beauty. Beauty deserves color. As the afternoon slowly matures, the sunlight changes once again. Long shadows stretch across the marble steps. The heat softens. A cooler breeze drifts through the open courtyards. Priests quietly replace burned incense. Fresh smoke rises into the sky. Its fragrance follows you as you continue walking. You begin noticing small household shrines built into ordinary buildings throughout the neighborhood. Some are no larger than a bookshelf. Others occupy entire corners of family courtyards. Fresh flowers rest beside tiny statues. Oil lamps burn steadily. Someone has placed a few grapes before one shrine. Another holds a single loaf of bread. The offerings are humble, yet they carry enormous meaning. Faith here is measured not by wealth, but by consistency. A little every day, year after year, generation after generation. As you continue through the sacred district, something unexpected happens. The city grows quieter, not because fewer people are present, but because everyone naturally slows their pace. Even the animals seem calmer. A donkey stands patiently beneath the shade of a fig tree. Pigeons wander fearlessly across the temple courtyard. No one chases them away. Time itself seems to move differently here. The Romans understand something easily forgotten in later centuries. Power builds an empire. Commerce sustains it. But belief gives it purpose. Without shared rituals, shared stories, shared traditions, stone alone cannot hold a civilization together. You pause one final time before leaving the temple district behind. Turning slowly, you look back across the marble roofs glowing beneath the late afternoon sun. Thin streams of incense continue rising toward the sky. For a moment, the entire city feels suspended between earth and heaven. Then someone nearby laughs. A cart rattles across distant stone. Life resumes its familiar rhythm. Rome never stops living, not even in the shadow of its gods. Leaving the quiet temples behind, you soon notice another transformation. The silence does not disappear all at once. Instead, it is slowly replaced by the growing pulse of commerce. At first, it is only a distant murmur, the rumble of wooden wheels, the call of a merchant, the laughter of customers bargaining over the day's prices. With every step, those sounds grow clearer, louder, closer, until they merge into one enormous living symphony. You are approaching the markets of Rome. Not a single market, but an entire world of trade. The streets widen once more. Canvas awnings stretch from building to building, casting welcome patches of shade across the paving stones. The afternoon sun remains warm, yet beneath the cloth canopies the air becomes pleasantly cool. A gentle breeze carries dozens of scents together. Fresh herbs, olive oil, sea salt, honey, new leather, smoked fish, ripe peaches, ground spices from lands thousands of miles away. Every breath introduces something different. Every smell tells the story of another province within the empire. The first stalls belong to farmers. Wooden tables overflow with vegetables harvested only hours before. Bright green cabbages, bundles of onions tied neatly together, carrots still dusted with soil, fresh lettuce sprinkled with droplets of water to preserve its crispness beneath the summer heat. Women carefully inspect every leaf before making their selections. Nothing is hurried. Choosing food is an act of patience. Beside them stands an elderly olive merchant. His hands bear the marks of decades spent harvesting trees beneath the Mediterranean sun. Before him sit enormous clay bowls filled with olives of every color. Deep black, soft green, purple touched by the first signs of ripening. He offers tiny samples to passing customers. A young boy hesitates. The merchant smiles. He places a single olive into the child's hand. The boy tastes it. His face immediately tightens from the bitterness. Nearby adults laugh gently. The merchant laughs as well. Not every first taste becomes an instant favorite. A little farther along, the market becomes louder. Fishmongers display their morning catch upon thick beds of crushed ice brought from distant mountain caves. Silver scales shimmer beneath shafts of sunlight slipping through gaps in the awnings. Sea bass, mackerel, octopus, shellfish arranged with surprising care. The smell is unmistakable. Fresh, salty, powerful. Workers continually pour cool water across the display to preserve its freshness. Customers inspect bright eyes and firm flesh before agreeing to a price. Everything is negotiated. Nothing is fixed. Even ordinary conversation feels like part of the exchange. The next row belongs to the bakers. Warm air escapes from enormous brick ovens. The aroma almost stops you in your tracks. Fresh bread, still warm. Golden crusts crackle softly as loaves cool upon wooden shelves. Round loaves, flat loaves, small rolls sprinkled with herbs. Honey cakes prepared for special occasions. One baker removes a loaf directly from the oven using a paddle nearly as tall as himself. Steam rises immediately into the afternoon air. A waiting customer tears away a small piece before the bread has even cooled. She smiles. Some pleasures require no words. You continue deeper into the market. Now the sounds become richer. Bronze bells hanging from harnesses. Goats calling to one another. Merchants advertising imported goods. Coins clinking together. Children asking endless questions. The entire marketplace moves like an enormous living organism. There is no conductor, no central voice, yet somehow everything functions. Every merchant knows where to stand. Every customer knows how to move. The rhythm has existed for generations. It no longer requires instruction. Ahead, vibrant colors catch your attention. Fabric merchants. Long wooden beams support endless rolls of cloth. Soft white linen from Egypt. Rich wool from Britannia. Fine silk that has traveled farther than almost anyone standing here can imagine. Some merchants proudly invite customers to touch the material. Others simply allow the fabrics to speak for themselves. The silk moves almost like water. Its smooth surface reflects sunlight with impossible softness. Only the wealthiest Romans can afford such luxury. Still, everyone pauses to admire it. Beauty belongs even to those who cannot purchase it. Nearby, a spice trader opens a small wooden chest. Instantly, the air changes. Cinnamon, black pepper, cumin, cardamom, frankincense. The fragrances mingle together into something almost intoxicating. These tiny handfuls of dried plants have crossed deserts, sailed across seas, passed through countless hands before arriving here. Each pinch represents months of travel. The empire stretches far beyond what your eyes can see. Its reach lives inside every marketplace. You stop beside a merchant selling glass. For a moment, you wonder whether it is truly ancient. The bowls shimmer with remarkable clarity. Blue bottles catch the sunlight like captured pieces of the sky. Small perfume flasks appear almost weightless. The merchant notices your curiosity. He lifts one carefully, rotating it beneath the light. Tiny air bubbles trapped inside reveal that it was shaped entirely by human breath. No two pieces are identical. Imperfection becomes proof of craftsmanship. Further ahead, another sound emerges. Music. A young musician sits upon a low wooden stool. He gently plucks the strings of a lyre. The melody drifts through the crowded market without demanding attention. Some people pause briefly. Others continue walking while listening. A little girl begins twirling in slow circles beside her mother. The musician smiles but never stops playing. His music belongs to everyone. No ticket, no stage, only the street. Nearby, an old storyteller has gathered several children beneath the shade of a fig tree. His hands move dramatically as he speaks. The children watch with complete concentration. Every surprise widens their eyes. Every joke fills the air with laughter. Long before books become common, stories travel by voice, from one generation to the next, across the marketplace, across entire civilizations. You continue onward. At the edge of the market stands a row of money changers. Heavy wooden tables display neatly stacked coins from every corner of the empire. Gold, silver, bronze. Some bear the face of Emperor Trajan. Others already carry the image of Hadrian, who now rules Rome in this very year. Merchants carefully weigh each coin using delicate bronze scales. Trust is valuable. Accuracy is essential. Trade depends upon both. A wealthy merchant from Alexandria negotiates quietly with a banker. Nearby, a shepherd pays for a simple loaf using only a few bronze coins. Within the same market, fortunes and ordinary lives exist side by side. Neither interrupts the other. The afternoon sun begins its slow descent. Golden light pours beneath the awnings. Everything softens. Dust floating through the air becomes visible. The edges of every basket seem to glow. Children grow quieter. Some merchants begin organizing tomorrow's inventory. Others continue calling enthusiastically to the remaining customers. Business never truly ends. It merely changes pace. You pause near the center of the marketplace, closing your eyes for just a moment. You listen, not to one voice, but to all of them together. The empire speaks here, not through soldiers, not through emperors, but through ordinary people exchanging food, ideas, craftsmanship, and trust. You open your eyes once again. The market continues exactly as before. No one noticed your brief pause. No one needed to, because the market existed long before your arrival, and it will continue long after you leave. The marketplace slowly disappears behind you. Its lively voices fade street by street. The laughter, the bargaining, the music, the endless clatter of trade. They do not stop. They simply become more distant with every step. Ahead, another side of Rome waits, one that surprises many first-time visitors. A place where emperors and laborers, merchants and soldiers, philosophers and craftsmen all gather beneath the same roof. Not to conduct business, not to worship, but to rest. The baths of Rome are unlike anything you have ever imagined. At first, the building appears almost like another palace. Its walls stretch farther than your eyes can comfortably follow. Massive brick arches rise above the surrounding streets. Tall windows allow shafts of sunlight to spill into the interior. Marble statues decorate the entrance. Fountains spill fresh water into broad stone basins. People arrive continuously, some alone, others with friends. Entire families pass beneath the entrance without ceremony. There are no guards checking social status. No sense of exclusivity. The baths belong to the city. You step inside. Immediately, the sounds change. Outside, Rome echoes with wheels, animals, and merchants. Inside, everything becomes softer. Water splashes gently. Voices bounce from vaulted ceilings. Footsteps echo across polished marble. Somewhere nearby, someone laughs. Another group quietly debates politics. A child runs through the corridor before his father gently calls him back. Nothing feels rushed. The air itself is different. Warm, humid, carrying the clean scent of flowing water mixed with olive oil and fresh herbs. Tiny droplets of steam drift through shafts of sunlight, making the interior glow almost dreamlike. For a moment, it feels less like a public building and more like another world entirely. You begin walking through the entrance hall. The floor beneath your feet is astonishing. Tiny colored stones form intricate mosaics stretching from wall to wall. Vershi, dolphins, sea gods, ships crossing distant oceans. Every image is made from thousands upon thousands of carefully placed pieces, no larger than your fingernail. The craftsmanship is extraordinary. People walk across these works of art every single day. No ropes protect them. No signs warn visitors. Beauty here exists to be lived with, not merely admired. A young attendant greets arriving guests with quiet efficiency. Many visitors leave sandals and outer garments in small storage rooms watched by attendants. Everything has its place. Everything follows an order understood without explanation. You continue deeper into the complex. Ahead lies the frigidarium, the cold room. Its enormous ceiling rises higher than many temples. Large windows admit cool daylight. The water inside the marble pool is perfectly clear, almost still. Only gentle ripples spread outward as bathers slowly enter. One man inhales deeply before lowering himself into the cold water. His shoulders tense, then relax. Another quietly swims from one side of the pool to the other. No one shouts. No one splashes carelessly. Even recreation carries a sense of dignity. You kneel beside the water. Its surface reflects the ceiling like polished glass. The cool air surrounding the pool feels refreshing after the warmth outside. Droplets collect upon the marble edges, sparkling beneath the afternoon light. Nearby, two elderly friends sit together discussing events within the Senate. Their conversation flows as calmly as the water itself. They have likely met here for years, perhaps decades. The baths are more than architecture. They are routine. They are community. Leaving the cool chamber behind, you enter another room. The temperature rises almost immediately. This is the tepidarium, the warm room. Heat embraces you gently rather than suddenly. The walls themselves seem to radiate warmth. Benches line the edges of the chamber. Citizens recline quietly while attendants massage fragrant olive oil into tired muscles. The scent is comforting. Fresh rosemary, lavender, pressed olives, a faint hint of cedarwood. The oils glisten beneath the soft light pouring through high windows. Conversation here becomes slower, quieter. People linger. No one checks the time. Time itself feels less important inside these walls. You notice an elderly veteran seated beside a young soldier. The older man's arms bear faded scars earned decades earlier. The younger man's armor rests neatly beside him. Between them, there is no visible difference. Both simply enjoy the warmth. Both belong here. Rome has many divisions. Yet inside the baths, some of those divisions soften. You continue onward. The air grows warmer still. Steam curls gently along the ceiling. Moisture beads upon the marble columns. Ahead lies the caldarium, the hot room. As you step inside, the heat wraps around your body like a heavy blanket. The large circular pool sends thin ribbons of steam toward the domed ceiling. Sunlight pours through high windows, illuminating the mist until it glows almost golden. The room feels alive, not noisy, but breathing. You watch as bathers slowly lower themselves into the steaming water. Some close their eyes immediately. Others continue quiet conversations. A physician explains the health benefits of alternating hot and cold baths. Nearby, a merchant discusses tomorrow's shipment arriving from Ostia. Business continues even here. The baths are where deals are made. Friendships strengthened. News exchanged. Politics debated. Ideas born. The empire flows through conversation as much as through roads. One attendant carries bronze buckets filled with fresh water. Another carefully wipes moisture from the marble floor. Workers move almost invisibly. Without them, the baths could never function. Their labor remains unnoticed precisely because they perform it so well. You pause beside one of the massive bronze braziers heating the room. Its steady fire reminds you that nothing here happens naturally. The warmth surrounding you requires engineering. Beneath the floors, hidden furnaces burn continuously. Hot air travels through hollow spaces beneath the marble. Warmth rises gently through the stone itself. The Romans call this system the hypocaust. Invisible. Ingenious. You cannot see it working, only feel its results. Once again, Rome reveals its greatest strength. Its most remarkable achievements often remain hidden. You leave the hot chamber through another corridor. Here, the air becomes cooler once more. A wide open courtyard suddenly appears before you. Bright sunlight floods the space. Young men exercise beneath the open sky. Some throw weighted balls back and forth. Others wrestle upon soft sand. Several practice running laps around the courtyard. Nearby, an instructor calmly corrects a student's posture. Physical strength matters here. Not only for soldiers. Health itself is considered a civic responsibility. Beyond the exercise grounds lies a shaded garden. Tall cypress trees sway gently in the afternoon breeze. Stone benches surround quiet fountains. Birdsong replaces the echoing voices of the bath chambers. Several philosophers sit beneath the shade discussing ethics. A poet quietly writes upon a wax tablet. An elderly man simply watches the water. Doing nothing. Sometimes, doing nothing is exactly what the soul requires. You sit upon a marble bench. The stone has cooled beneath the lengthening shadows. For the first time since entering Rome, you feel completely still. The city continues beyond these walls. Markets remain busy. Temples remain filled with worshippers. The Forum continues debating the future of the empire. Yet here, inside the baths, Rome has created something extraordinary. A place where an entire civilization pauses together. Not forever, only long enough to breathe, to recover, to remember that even the greatest empire ever built depends upon ordinary human bodies that grow tired. Ordinary minds that seek conversation. Ordinary hearts that long for peace. The sunlight slowly shifts across the courtyard. Long shadows stretch between the columns. Some visitors begin preparing to leave. Others have only just arrived. The rhythm never truly ends. It simply welcomes whoever comes next. You rise from the bench. One final glance falls across the fountains, the gardens, the steam drifting lazily above distant rooftops. Then you continue your journey. Rome still has many stories waiting to tell. By the time you leave the baths, the day has begun to soften. The fierce brightness of the afternoon no longer dominates the sky. Instead, the sunlight grows warmer, gentler, golden. The shadows cast by the buildings stretch farther across the streets with every passing moment. Rome is preparing for evening. Yet the city shows no sign of slowing. It simply changes its rhythm. The streets outside the baths feel different now. Many laborers have finished their work for the day. Craftsmen sweep the stone floors of their workshops. Merchants count the last of their coins before carefully locking away valuable goods. Children, released from the watchful eyes of their teachers and parents, fill the streets with cheerful energy. The city exhales. You join the steady flow of pedestrians once more. The paving stones beneath your feet still hold the warmth of the afternoon sun. Each step releases a faint memory of heat. The air smells different now. The aroma of fresh bread has been replaced by evening meals. Garlic sizzling in olive oil. Roasted vegetables. Lamb turning slowly above glowing coals. Fresh herbs crushed beneath wooden mortars. Wine being poured into waiting cups. Somewhere nearby, someone has begun baking honey cakes. Their sweet fragrance drifts through the narrow streets. It is impossible not to notice. Small doorways stand open to the evening air. Inside, families prepare supper together. A father slices warm bread. A mother stirs a clay pot suspended above a small fire. Children arrange simple wooden bowls upon the table. Neighbors greet one another across the street. Someone offers fresh figs over a balcony. Another accepts with a grateful smile. The city feels less like an empire and more like thousands of villages quietly living side by side. You continue walking. The noise of commerce slowly fades. In its place comes conversation. Without the urgency of business, people linger. Groups gather outside taverns. Friends sit upon low stone benches discussing the day's events. An elderly couple walks slowly together, saying very little. They have likely shared thousands of evenings exactly like this one. Words become less necessary with time. Ahead, music begins drifting through the warm air. Not grand performances, not organized concerts, simply ordinary people making music together. A young woman plays a reed flute while sitting outside her family's doorway. Nearby, an older man gently accompanies her using a small stringed instrument. The melody is slow, peaceful. It blends naturally with the sounds of the city. No audience gathers. No applause follows. Music belongs to daily life. It asks for nothing in return. As you pass, a little boy attempts to imitate the melody by whistling. His tune wanders in every direction. His mother laughs softly. The musicians smile. No one minds. Every master once began as a beginner. The evening breeze strengthens slightly. It carries welcome relief after the day's warmth. Fabric awnings flutter gently above the streets. Oil lamps begin appearing one by one. At first, only a few. A merchant lights the lamp outside his shop. Moments later, another glows farther down the street. Then another. Soon dozens of small flames begin pushing back the approaching darkness. The city transforms before your eyes. Marble reflects the amber light. Bronze statues shine with warm highlights. The shadows become deeper, longer. Everything feels softer. Rome possesses two completely different personalities. One beneath the brilliant sun, another beneath the quiet glow of evening. You find yourself walking uphill. The streets become narrower once again. Stone stairways connect different levels of the city. As you climb, the sounds below slowly grow quieter. Turning briefly, you look back. The rooftops stretch toward the horizon. Terracotta tiles glow deep orange beneath the setting sun. Thin columns of smoke rise from countless chimneys. Somewhere far beyond the city walls, the surrounding countryside fades into soft blue haze. For a moment, the entire empire seems peaceful. You continue climbing. Near the top of the hill stands a small public fountain. Unlike the larger fountains near the Forum, this one serves only the surrounding neighborhood. Children fill small clay pitchers. An elderly woman washes vegetables before preparing the evening meal. A traveler drinks deeply before continuing toward an inn. Water continues flowing without interruption. Quietly, faithfully, the aqueducts never sleep. Nearby grows a magnificent fig tree. Its branches stretch over part of the street, creating a cool pocket of shade even as the sun continues to sink lower. Several elderly men sit beneath it upon a stone bench polished smooth by generations of use. Their conversation drifts gently through the evening air. One speaks. The others listen. Then another responds. No one rushes to interrupt. Time itself feels slower here. You wonder how many political arguments, family stories, childhood memories, and quiet reconciliations have unfolded beneath this very tree. Some places become important not because of architecture, but because people continue returning to them. The sky begins changing color. Golden light slowly gives way to shades of amber. Then soft rose. Hints of lavender appear above the distant hills. The first evening birds cross the sky. Their silhouettes pass silently overhead. A shepherd guides several goats through the neighborhood on their way home. The animals seem to know the route without instruction. One pauses briefly beside a doorway. A young girl reaches down to gently stroke its head before it continues along the street. Tiny moments, almost invisible, yet they reveal the soul of the city far better than monuments ever could. As twilight deepens, more lamps are lit. Attendants carefully trim the wicks. Fresh olive oil is added where needed. The small flames remain steady despite the evening breeze. Their warm glow spills onto the paving stones. Every doorway becomes an island of light. Every window tells another story. You pass an open courtyard where several generations of one family have gathered for supper. Grandparents, parents, children, neighbors. Laughter rises above the clinking of pottery. Someone breaks fresh bread. Another fills clay cups with diluted wine. The oldest member of the family begins telling a story. Immediately, every child grows quiet. Stories remain stronger than silence. Across another street, a blacksmith closes the heavy wooden shutters of his workshop. His fire has burned since before sunrise. Now only glowing embers remain. Tomorrow, before most of the city awakens, those embers will become flames once more. Rome rests, but only briefly. Ahead, an inn welcomes travelers arriving before nightfall. Lanterns hang beside the entrance. Several wagons stand nearby. Their horses eat quietly from wooden troughs. Inside, voices mingle with the smell of roasted meat and fresh bread. The journey has ended for some. For others, It has only begun. You continue walking. There is no destination now. Only observation. Only presence. The evening air grows pleasantly cool against your skin. Somewhere in the distance, a temple bell rings softly. Its sound drifts across rooftops before disappearing into the gathering night. The stars have not yet appeared, but the sky has already begun preparing for them. You stop near the crest of the hill one final time. Below you, Rome stretches endlessly in every direction. Thousands of lamps flicker like scattered constellations. Smoke rises gently into the twilight. The streets continue flowing with life. Not loudly, not dramatically, simply steadily. You realize something that no map could ever teach. Rome is not immortal because of its walls, or its armies, or its emperors. It endures because every evening, millions of ordinary people return home. They prepare meals, tell stories, light lamps, laugh with neighbors, care for children, dream about tomorrow. Empires are remembered for their victories, but civilizations survive because of evenings like this. You remain there for another quiet moment, listening, watching, breathing, as the last light of day slowly disappears behind the western hills. Darkness has not yet fully arrived. The last traces of twilight still linger above the western horizon. The sky glows with soft shades of violet and fading amber, while the first stars cautiously appear one by one. The streets remain alive, but they no longer belong to merchants. They belong to families. As you continue your evening walk, the pace of the city slows even further. The hurried footsteps of business have disappeared. People no longer move with purpose. They move with comfort. They know where they are going. Home. A warm breeze carries the familiar scent of evening fires. Olive wood crackles gently inside small kitchens. Smoke curls upward through roof openings before drifting into the calm night air. Every neighborhood seems wrapped in the aroma of supper. Roasted onions, fresh herbs, lentils simmering inside clay pots, flatbread warming beside glowing coals, garlic gently browning in olive oil. The fragrances overlap until they become impossible to separate. Together, they smell like home. As you pass another narrow street, an elderly woman notices you lingering nearby. She smiles, not with surprise, not with suspicion, simply with kindness. Hospitality has deep roots here. She gestures toward the open doorway of her modest home. Inside, several family members are already gathering around a wooden table. You hesitate for only a moment before accepting the silent invitation. Crossing the threshold, you step into a world rarely described in grand histories. No emperor lives here. No senator. No famous general. Only ordinary Romans. The very people whose quiet routines allow the empire to exist. The room is simple. Its walls are covered with smooth plaster, painted in warm shades of red and ochre. A few small shelves hold clay bowls, bronze cups, and carefully folded linen cloths. Near one corner stands a household shrine. Tiny oil lamps burn before painted figures of the family's protective spirits. Fresh flowers rest beside a small offering of bread. Someone has clearly visited the shrine only moments ago. The room glows softly beneath the light of several oil lamps. Their flames flicker gently whenever the evening breeze slips through the open doorway. The shadows dance across the walls. Nothing here is extravagant, yet nothing feels lacking. A young boy carefully carries a basket filled with warm bread to the center of the table. His younger sister follows behind, proudly balancing a small bowl of olives with complete concentration. Their mother quietly thanks them. The children smile. Even small responsibilities matter. At the far end of the room, the oldest member of the family slowly lowers himself onto a wooden stool. His hair has turned completely white. The deep lines across his face tell stories older than anyone present. Perhaps he remembers the reign of Emperor Nero. Perhaps even earlier. His grandchildren immediately gather near him without being asked. Respect requires no instruction. It has been learned through years of example. The father returns from the small kitchen carrying a steaming clay pot. Carefully, he places it upon the center of the table. The aroma immediately fills the room. A hearty stew. Lentils, leeks, carrots, barley, a small amount of smoked pork. Enough to flavor the entire meal without overwhelming it. Simple ingredients, prepared with patience. Nearby rests a platter of fresh cheese, another of sliced cucumbers, a bowl of figs harvested only this morning, several sprigs of fresh mint. Nothing appears complicated. Everything appears nourishing. Before anyone begins eating, the family grows quiet. The father walks toward the household shrine. He lights another small oil lamp, then places a tiny piece of bread upon the altar. No speech follows. No elaborate ceremony. Only a few whispered words offered to the household gods. The family bows their heads briefly. Then supper begins. Bread is broken by hand, never sliced. Each person tears away only what they need. Olive oil is poured into a shallow dish. Fresh herbs float upon its surface. Warm bread disappears into the fragrant mixture before reaching eager hands. The crust crackles softly. The inside remains wonderfully tender. The youngest child smiles after the first bite. Some pleasures remain timeless. Clay bowls pass slowly around the table. No one rushes. Conversation flows naturally between mouthfuls. The grandfather tells a story about the year heavy rains nearly destroyed the harvest. His son remembers repairing the family roof after a violent storm. The children listen carefully. Every family carries its own history. Long before historians record the lives of emperors, families preserve the stories that truly matter. Outside, distant footsteps occasionally pass the open doorway. A neighbor calls out a greeting. Someone laughs farther down the street. The city continues breathing beyond these walls. Yet inside, the world feels wonderfully small. One of the children asks why the moon changes shape. The grandfather looks upward thoughtfully before answering. His explanation mixes observation with old beliefs passed down through generations. Perhaps it is not scientifically correct, but it carries something equally valuable. Wonder. Every civilization begins by asking questions, not always by finding perfect answers. As the meal continues, a small clay pitcher of diluted wine passes carefully from one adult to another. The children receive fresh water instead. The fountain nearby has provided the neighborhood with clean water all day. Tomorrow, it will do so again. Consistency quietly shapes civilization. The conversation shifts toward tomorrow's work. One family member plans to visit the forum before sunrise. Another expects a shipment of wool arriving from the countryside. The oldest grandson proudly announces that he will begin helping at the family workshop next month. His parents exchange proud smiles. Childhood slowly gives way to responsibility. As it always has. As it always will. The youngest daughter suddenly notices a stray cat sitting quietly just outside the doorway. Without saying a word, she tears away a tiny piece of bread. Her mother gently shakes her head. The girl pauses, then instead carries a small scrap of leftover meat to the waiting animal. The cat accepts the gift before disappearing silently into the darkness. No one speaks about it. Kindness rarely announces itself. The evening grows deeper. Mori oil lamps are lit. Their warm glow softens every corner of the room. Outside, the stars now shine clearly above Rome. The sounds from neighboring homes become quieter. Families across the city are finishing their meals. Children begin rubbing tired eyes. Parents stack empty bowls. Someone sweeps the floor. Another washes clay dishes using water carried from the public fountain. Every movement feels familiar. Practiced. Almost comforting to watch. The grandfather begins one final story. This one about his own childhood. He remembers watching Emperor Vespasian enter the city many decades earlier. The details have softened with time. Perhaps some memories have become larger than life. No one interrupts. Accuracy matters less than the joy of remembering. The children lean closer. Even the adults smile. Stories become bridges between generations. Long after voices fade, their lessons remain. Eventually, the meal comes to an end. The father thanks each family member for helping prepare the evening. The children collect empty bowls without complaint. The mother carefully extinguishes one of the lamps. The room grows slightly darker. Softer. Sleep slowly approaches. You quietly rise from your seat. The family offers warm smiles as you prepare to leave. No grand farewell. Only simple kindness. Stepping back into the night, you find the streets remarkably peaceful. Above you, the stars spread across the Roman sky exactly as they did centuries before. And exactly as they will centuries after. Behind you, the family's laughter briefly escapes through the open doorway before the wooden door gently closes. You continue your walk, carrying with you the realization that the true strength of Rome does not live only in its monuments. It lives inside ordinary homes, around ordinary tables, shared through ordinary meals, night after night, generation after generation. The wooden door closes softly behind you. Its quiet sound disappears into the evening almost immediately. For a moment, you remain standing where you are. The warmth of the family's home still lingers in your memory. The smell of fresh bread, the gentle laughter, the comforting glow of oil lamps. Then you turn back toward the street. Night has fully arrived. Rome wears a different face now. Not silent, never silent, but calmer. The city that had welcomed merchants, senators, craftsmen, priests, and travelers throughout the day now belongs to those returning home. The sky above is remarkably clear. Without modern lights competing against the heavens, the stars shine with astonishing brilliance. The Milky Way stretches across the darkness like a pale river flowing from one horizon to the other. Many Romans pause to look upward before continuing on their way. The same constellations guided sailors across the Mediterranean. The same stars watched over soldiers marching through distant provinces. Tonight, they watch over you. A cool breeze moves gently through the narrow streets. The heat stored within the stone walls during the day slowly escapes into the night air. Touching one of the marble columns beside you, you can still feel the warmth lingering beneath its smooth surface. The city remembers the sun long after it has disappeared. Oil lamps burn beside nearly every doorway. Some are carefully protected by small bronze covers. Others hang from simple iron hooks fixed into the walls. Their flames dance gently whenever the breeze passes. The light they cast is soft, golden, never harsh. Instead of banishing darkness completely, each lamp creates a small circle of warmth surrounded by deep shadows. Rome does not fight the night. It simply learns to live within it. You begin walking once again. Your footsteps sound louder now, not because the streets are empty, but because every other sound has become quieter. Conversations drift from open windows above. Someone quietly sings while washing dishes. A baby cries briefly before being comforted. Wood crackles inside distant hearths. A dog barks somewhere far beyond the next intersection. Then silence returns. You pass a tavern still welcoming late visitors. Warm light spills onto the street through its open doorway. Inside, travelers gather around rough wooden tables. Some discuss the roads leading north toward Gaul. Others exchange stories about distant ports in Egypt. A sailor gestures dramatically while describing rough seas. His companions laugh. Whether every detail is true hardly matters. Stories grow during long journeys. They always have. The smell of roasted meat escapes into the cool night air. Alongside it comes the rich aroma of dark wine. Fresh rosemary, burning olive wood. For a brief moment, you consider stepping inside. Instead, you continue walking. There is still more of Rome waiting beyond the next corner. The streets grow narrower. Buildings rise higher above you. Their upper floors nearly touch across the alleyways, leaving only a ribbon of starlight visible overhead. Laundry that hung drying during the afternoon now sways gently in the night breeze. Shadows stretch across the walls, changing shape whenever a lamp flickers nearby. Every step feels almost cinematic. Ahead, two members of the city watch slowly patrol the neighborhood. They carry simple lamps rather than blazing torches. Their pace is unhurried. One quietly greets a shopkeeper, securing his wooden shutters for the night. The shopkeeper nods. No suspicion, only familiarity. Order here depends as much upon relationships as authority. Farther along, you notice something unexpected. Several craftsmen are still working. A potter carefully shapes clay beneath the glow of a single lamp. Tomorrow's market begins tonight. Beside him, a baker quietly prepares dough that will rise before dawn. The city sleeps in shifts. Someone is always beginning work while another finishes. Rome never completely closes its eyes. A cat darts silently across the street. Its paws make no sound upon the stone. Moments later, another appears atop a nearby wall. They pause, watch one another, then disappear into separate shadows. The city belongs to them now as much as it belongs to its people. You reach another public fountain. Its steady stream continues exactly as it did this morning, exactly as it did this afternoon. The water never stops. Moonlight dances across its surface. Tiny ripples distort the reflection of the stars. A young woman quietly fills two clay pitchers. She balances one upon each shoulder with practiced ease. Without wasting a single movement, she disappears into the surrounding streets. The fountain continues flowing after she leaves. Patient, reliable, Endless. You continue climbing gently uphill. The city grows quieter still. Many windows are now dark. Only a handful remain, illuminated by faint oil lamps. Inside one home, you glimpse an elderly man reading from a scroll while his grandson listens attentively. Across the street, another family quietly weaves wool beside the fire. Daily life does not end with sunset. It simply changes form. Above the rooftops, the moon slowly rises. Its pale light transforms the marble buildings into silver silhouettes. Statues that seemed powerful beneath daylight now appear almost mysterious. Columns cast long geometric shadows across empty courtyards. The city feels ancient, timeless, almost dreamlike. You stop beside a small temple standing peacefully between rows of homes. Earlier today, worshippers crowded its entrance. Now only a single lamp burns before the altar. Its tiny flame glows steadily against the darkness. Someone has left fresh flowers. Their fragrance lingers in the cool air. Faith, like the city itself, never truly sleeps. Continuing onward, you arrive at a quiet overlook where the rooftops spread beneath you. The transformation is breathtaking. Thousands of tiny lights flicker across the city below. Not bright enough to erase the stars, just enough to reveal that life continues everywhere. Some families are still sharing stories. Others have already fallen asleep. Night workers prepare tomorrow's bread. Soldiers change their watch. Priests tend sacred flames. Travelers arrive late at distant gates. Children dream beneath wool blankets. Every light represents another life unfolding beyond your sight. You realize that cities are never truly made of stone. Stone only provides the frame. The real city exists inside its people, inside their hopes, their routines, their kindness, their worries, their laughter. Without them, even the grandest monuments would become empty shells. The wind grows cooler. Summer insects begin their quiet chorus among nearby gardens. From somewhere deep within the city comes the faint sound of a bronze bell marking another hour of the night. Its echo rolls gently across the rooftops before fading into silence. Time passes differently here, not measured by clocks, but by lamps being extinguished, by fires burning lower, by conversations gradually ending. You sit upon a worn marble step overlooking the sleeping neighborhoods. The stone beneath you has held countless travelers before. Merchants resting tired legs, soldiers waiting for dawn, poets searching for inspiration. Perhaps another stranger, nearly 2,000 years ago, sat exactly where you now sit, looking at exactly this sky, wondering exactly the same things. The thought feels strangely comforting. History is often taught through battles, through emperors, through victories carved into monuments. Yet tonight, none of those seem most important. Instead, you remember a child laughing over fresh bread, a grandfather telling stories, a baker preparing tomorrow's loaves, a musician playing for no audience, a family lighting a single lamp before supper. These are the moments that build civilizations, not in a single generation, but across centuries. The moon climbs higher. The streets grow quieter. One by one, more lamps disappear into darkness. Still, Rome does not vanish. It simply rests, waiting patiently for another sunrise, another marketplace, another prayer, another ordinary day that will one day become history. You remain seated a little longer, breathing the cool night air, listening to the distant heartbeat of the eternal city, knowing that tomorrow, Rome will awaken long before the sun, and you will awaken with it. The night is at its deepest. Most of Rome sleeps. The streets that only hours ago echoed with conversation now rest beneath a blanket of silence. Not complete silence. Rome is too alive for that. Instead, the city whispers. A distant dog barks somewhere beyond the rooftops. Water continues flowing through unseen fountains. A gentle breeze brushes against wooden shutters. Somewhere nearby, a horse shifts its weight inside a stable. The eternal city never becomes truly still. It simply breathes more quietly. You remain seated upon the cool marble steps. The stone has finally surrendered the warmth it gathered during the day. Now it feels pleasantly cold beneath your hands. Looking upward, the stars seem brighter than ever. The moon has begun its slow descent toward the western hills. Its silver light paints every rooftop with soft reflections. Marble temples glow faintly. Bronze statues appear almost alive beneath the shifting shadows. The city feels suspended between dreams and dawn. Time seems to slow. You close your eyes for a moment. The cool night air fills your lungs. Without the constant movement of the daytime crowds, individual sounds become remarkably clear. Leaves rustling inside a courtyard. The flutter of wings as an owl glides silently across the rooftops. The soft splash of water spilling endlessly from a fountain. Every sound has space to exist. Nothing competes. Nothing rushes. When you open your eyes again, you notice movement below. Not many people, only a handful. A baker walks quickly through the darkness, carrying a bundle of firewood across his shoulder. His work begins long before sunrise. By the time most Romans awaken, fresh bread must already be waiting. Farther down the street, another figure appears. A woman carrying 2 empty clay jars. She walks confidently despite the darkness. The path to the fountain has become part of her memory. She does not need daylight to find it. The city belongs not only to those who wake early, but to those whose lives require it. You slowly rise and continue walking. The streets remain nearly empty. Your footsteps echo between the stone walls. Without the noise of daytime traffic, you begin noticing details that previously escaped your attention. Tiny carvings above doorways. Faded wall paintings hidden beneath centuries of dust. Small cracks running through ancient paving stones. Every surface tells a story. Nothing here is perfectly preserved. Everything has been touched by time. A cool wind drifts through a narrow alley. It carries the smell of damp stone mixed with faint traces of yesterday's cooking fires. The scents are subtle now. The city has exhaled. Even the smoke seems to rest. Ahead, a single oil lamp still burns outside a modest shrine. Its flame is small, steady. Someone has carefully protected it from the wind using thin sheets of polished bronze. The lamp has likely burned throughout the entire night, keeping watch, just as generations before have done. You pause for a moment. The tiny flame reflects inside your eyes. It reminds you that even the smallest light becomes meaningful in darkness. Leaving the shrine behind, you continue toward one of Rome's largest streets. The silence gradually begins to change. Not because people are speaking, but because work is beginning. You hear the scrape of wooden doors opening. A cart wheel turning for the first time that morning. The quiet clinking of bronze tools being arranged upon a table. Day has not yet arrived, yet preparation has already begun. Rome wakes slowly, like a giant opening its eyes one careful moment at a time. You pass the bakery you noticed earlier. Warm light spills from its doorway. Inside, the baker kneads enormous portions of dough upon a heavy wooden table. His movements are practiced, rhythmic, confident. Flour dust hangs in the warm air like pale mist. The brick oven already glows bright orange. Heat rolls gently into the cool street. Soon, this warmth will become breakfast for hundreds of families. Nearby, another craftsman unlocks his workshop. He sweeps yesterday's dust into the street before arranging his tools exactly where they belong. Every hammer, every chisel, every measuring cord. Routine creates efficiency. Efficiency creates prosperity. Prosperity helps sustain an empire. You continue walking toward the Forum. The eastern horizon has begun changing almost imperceptibly. The darkness no longer appears completely black. Instead, it carries the faintest hint of deep blue. Morning approaches. Birdsong begins. At first, only one, then another. Soon several small birds call from rooftops and garden walls. Their voices seem surprisingly loud against the quiet city. Nature awakens before humanity. As always, you reach a broad public square. Only yesterday it was overflowing with merchants and senators. Now it stands nearly empty. The polished stones glisten slightly beneath the cool morning dew. Without crowds, the architecture appears even grander. Columns rise silently into the brightening sky. Statues stand frozen in eternal vigilance. The Forum belongs to history during the day. But before sunrise, it belongs to silence. A single priest crosses the square carrying a small bronze lamp. His footsteps echo softly. He disappears into one of the nearby temples without looking around. Morning rituals begin before the city notices. Sacred fires must never be neglected. Elsewhere, two young apprentices hurry across the square, carrying rolled wax tablets. Their teacher is clearly expecting them. Learning begins early. Responsibility begins even earlier. The first wagon enters from the northern road. Its wheels creak loudly across the empty pavement. Fresh vegetables from nearby farms, still wet with morning dew. Soon these baskets will disappear into the marketplace. For now, they remain untouched, pure, quiet, full of possibility. The sky grows lighter. Deep blue becomes pale blue. Soft pink appears along the horizon. The highest marble rooftops catch the first hints of color. Rome seems to inhale. Waiting. The air feels wonderfully fresh, cool enough that your breath almost becomes visible. The scent of damp earth drifts through the streets. Mixed with it comes warm bread baking nearby. Fresh water flowing through fountains. Olive wood burning inside hidden ovens. Morning has its own perfume. You climb a short flight of stone steps leading toward a terrace overlooking part of the city. From here, everything becomes visible. Rows of rooftops stretching endlessly into the distance. Temple roofs catching the earliest sunlight. Thin ribbons of smoke beginning to rise from scattered homes. A few tiny figures already moving through the streets. The empire is waking. Not suddenly, but gradually. Just as the sun itself rises, you remain perfectly still, watching. The first ray of sunlight finally reaches the highest column of a nearby temple. Its marble instantly glows brilliant gold. Moments later, another rooftop brightens. Then another. The light flows across Rome like water. Every second reveals another detail hidden moments before. Every shadow retreats a little farther. Birds fill the sky. The fountains sparkle. The streets begin filling once more. The baker opens his doors. The merchant arranges his goods. The soldier begins his watch. The mother prepares breakfast. The child rubs sleep from tired eyes. Another ordinary day begins. And because it is ordinary, it is extraordinary. History often remembers celebrations, victories, coronations, triumphs. But civilizations survive because of mornings exactly like this one. Quiet mornings, predictable mornings, mornings filled with bread, work, family, and hope. You smile as the sunlight finally reaches where you stand. Its warmth touches your face. Yesterday, you entered Rome as a stranger. Today, for just a little while, it almost feels like home. By now, the morning has fully arrived. The cool air of dawn has surrendered to gentle warmth. Sunlight pours freely through the streets, touching rooftops, columns, fountains, and faces with the same quiet generosity. The city is awake. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but completely. You continue your walk without any destination in mind. There is no hurry. Rome reveals itself best to those who move slowly. Every street offers another small discovery. Every corner holds another ordinary miracle. As you wander deeper into the city, you begin noticing something you had overlooked before. It is not a building, not a monument, not even a person. It is the sound. Not one sound, thousands, each one tiny on its own. Together, they become the heartbeat of Rome. You stop beside a shaded portico, closing your eyes for only a moment. You listen. Far away, a blacksmith's hammer strikes iron. The rhythm is steady, measured, almost musical. Closer still, a merchant laughs as a customer tells an exaggerated story. A donkey shakes its harness, causing small bronze bells to ring softly. A flock of pigeons suddenly lifts into the air. Hundreds of wings beat together before settling once more upon a nearby rooftop. Water continues flowing through a public fountain. Never louder, never softer, always present. Children chase one another across polished paving stones. Their sandals slap against the ground with joyful unpredictability. A mother calls after them. Her voice carries both patience and amusement. Somewhere above, a carpenter saws through fresh cedar. The scent of newly cut wood drifts into the street. The sound follows shortly after. Long, smooth, even. Nearby, someone begins singing. Not performing, simply singing while working. The melody is unfamiliar. Perhaps an old countryside tune remembered from childhood. Another worker quietly joins the chorus without looking up from his task. The music lasts only a minute, then fades naturally into the countless other sounds surrounding it. Nothing here demands attention. Everything contributes. You begin walking once more. Every step changes the orchestra. Passing beneath a balcony, you hear a grandmother teaching a little girl how to spin wool. The older woman's instructions are calm, patient. The child laughs whenever the thread slips from her fingers. Learning has always sounded like this. Encouragement. Mistakes. Another attempt. At the next intersection, two merchants greet one another warmly. Their conversation begins with business. Within moments, it shifts toward family. One proudly describes his newborn son. The other promises to visit soon. Trade builds relationships. Relationships build communities. Communities build cities. The streets themselves seem to understand this truth. You pass a row of stonemasons repairing part of a public staircase. Each man performs a different task. One measures, another chisels, a third carefully brushes away fine marble dust. No one gives loud instructions. No one argues. Years of working together have created silent understanding. The hammer strikes continue. Taboo, taboo, taboo. The sound echoes gently between the surrounding buildings. Somewhere nearby, another crew repairs a section of the aqueduct. Hidden beneath stone arches, fresh water continues flowing uninterrupted. Most citizens walking these streets will never think about the workers maintaining the system. They simply turn the fountain. The water arrives. Some of history's greatest achievements remain invisible precisely because they never fail. A breeze passes through the narrow street. Canvas awnings ripple overhead. The fabric flutters softly. Wooden signs creak upon their iron brackets. Wind becomes another musician within Rome's endless symphony. You notice something curious. No single sound dominates the others. The city somehow maintains balance. The louder noises fade into the distance. The quieter ones appear only when you move closer. It feels almost natural, as though Rome itself understands harmony. You enter another small square. A storyteller has once again gathered an audience. This time, not children alone. Adults stand nearby as well. Some pretend not to listen, yet they remain close enough to hear every word. The storyteller raises his hands dramatically. The listeners smile, even those who have likely heard the tale before. Certain stories never grow old. Across the square, several women wash clothing beside a public basin. The rhythmic sound of wet fabric striking smooth stone repeats again and again. Splash, fold, strike, rinse, repeat. Their conversation flows effortlessly alongside their work. One woman laughs so suddenly that the others immediately join her. Laughter spreads faster than words. Nearby, a tiny puppy tumbles clumsily after an older dog. The older animal barely acknowledges its enthusiastic companion. Several children stop to watch. One reaches down to scratch the puppy behind its ears. The puppy responds with complete delight. Even the busiest street pauses briefly for small moments of happiness. You continue walking toward one of the larger avenues. Traffic has grown heavier now. Ox carts roll steadily over the paving stones. Their wooden wheels create deep, familiar sounds. Drivers call gently to their animals. No shouting, no panic. The oxen know the route better than anyone. A messenger hurries past, carrying a sealed bundle beneath his arm. His sandals strike the stone with remarkable speed. Moments later, he disappears into the crowd. Important news always travels quickly. Yet the city itself never appears rushed. Rome moves at the speed of confidence. You stop beside another fountain. A blind musician sits nearby, playing a simple wooden flute. His eyes never follow the crowd. They do not need to. He already knows the city through sound. Coins occasionally fall into the small bowl beside him. He nods politely without interrupting his melody. His music fills the space between conversations, never overpowering them, simply existing alongside them. Perhaps that is why it feels so beautiful. An elderly woman pauses beside the musician. She listens for a while before quietly placing a small coin into his bowl. He smiles. She smiles. Neither speaks. Kindness rarely requires explanation. The sun continues climbing. The shadows shorten. Heat slowly begins gathering upon the stone streets once again. Yet the city never seems uncomfortable. Everywhere you look, someone has created shade. Canvas stretched between buildings. Trees planted beside courtyards. Covered walkways supported by graceful columns. Rome understands that comfort encourages conversation. Conversation strengthens community. You reach the edge of another busy intersection. Rather than crossing immediately, you simply stand still. Watching, listening. 100 tiny moments unfold before you. A father lifts his daughter over a puddle. A merchant adjusts a crooked basket of figs. A mason wipes sweat from his forehead before returning to work. A priest pauses to greet an old friend. Two strangers help push a broken cart aside without being asked. No historian will ever record these moments. No sculptor will carve them into marble. Yet together, they are Rome. You realize that cities cannot be understood from above. Not from maps, not from monuments, not even from history books. A city reveals itself through its ordinary sounds, through footsteps, through laughter, through the scrape of chairs, the splash of fountains, the call of merchants, the distant hammer, the whisper of wind beneath awnings. These are the voices of civilization. And today, you have learned to hear them. As the morning advances, the streets grow warmer beneath the rising sun. The cool freshness of dawn has become a pleasant Mediterranean day. Shadows shorten. Stone walls slowly release the night's remaining chill. Above you, the sky stretches without a cloud. A brilliant blue canopy over one of the greatest cities the ancient world has ever known. You continue walking through the neighborhoods surrounding the Forum. The crowds have become comfortably familiar now. Faces pass by without seeming strange. The rhythm of Rome no longer feels overwhelming. Instead, it begins to feel understandable. A woman balances a basket upon her head without using her hands. A boy guides two stubborn goats through a narrow alley. An elderly merchant carefully dusts the front of his shop for what must be the third time this morning. Every person follows a routine polished through countless ordinary days. Ahead, a different scent begins drifting toward you. Warm, rich, almost impossible to ignore. Fresh bread. Not one bakery. Many. The aroma grows stronger with every step until it fills the entire street. It settles gently into your clothes, your hair. Even the air you breathe seems made of warm wheat and glowing ovens. You smile before realizing why. Some scents awaken memories older than words. You follow the fragrance through a narrow lane. Soon you arrive at one of the city's larger bakeries. Unlike tea,